Karen,
What?
have you noticed?
Yes.
I knew you were going to answer, so I waited. See,
I notice everything.
I paused this time. No, have you noticed how everyone in the spiritual space suddenly seems to have thoughts about 2026?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
well, it's just because it just turned 2026.
That's a fair point. Fair point. But I'm talking about not like thoughts, but more like predictions.
Oh, those kind of thoughts.
Yeah.
Forethoughts.
Apparently, 2026 is going to be a challenging year. And here I thought 2025 was the one. It's going to be transformative, intense, possibly apocalyptic.
Oh, God.
Possibly a great
Will
awakening.
there be zombies involved?
Hopefully not. Possibly a great awakening, but more than likely both, right? Here's the thing. Some of these people are smart. They're thoughtful. They're not fear-mongers at all. So tonight, instead of telling you what's coming, we're going to ask a different question. What do we do with these predictions without letting them hijack our nervous systems or outsource our discernment? We have three powerful perspectives from three powerful past guests. No doom, no forced optimism, and fair warning, there might even be some gentle disagreement. Karen's already giving me that look, so let's do this. The Skeptic Metaphysicians starts now.
My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
both want to believe.
So we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something.
Anything.
That will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Hey there, I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
Welcome back to the Skeptic Metaphysicians. Before we dive in, I want to take just a moment to set the container for this conversation. It's a very different thing that we've done ever in the history of the show, and we're excited to share this with you. But it's an experiment, so bear with us. Over the past year, we've seen more and more predictions circulating in spiritual and metaphysical spaces, especially about what the next few years might bring. Some of those perspectives are thoughtful, some are speculative, and some, frankly, can leave people feeling anxious or disoriented. Well, today's episode isn't about telling you what's going to happen or what you should believe. It's about something more foundational, how we relate to these predictions in the first place. How do we stay informed without becoming fearful? How do we honor intuition and pattern recognition without handing over our agency? And how do we hold uncertainty without rushing to certainty just to feel safe? We intentionally brought together three different perspectives for this roundtable, not to debate or convince, but to explore these questions from multiple angles, sometimes agreeing, sometimes not. But if you're looking for definitive answers, I'm afraid you may not find them here. But if you're looking for orientation, discernment, and a way to stay grounded when future-focused conversations get intense, you, my friend, are in the right place. Let's go ahead and bring everyone in. First and foremost, we have Karen Chong from Spherical Luminosity. Karen works at the quantum level of transformation, helping people create tangible results in their lives by changing the underlying energetic and informational patterns that shape reality. Her work is rooted in applied quantum principles rather than prediction or emotional processing, and she focuses on outcomes, clarity, and aligned action rather than fear-based narratives. Next to her, we have Gabrielle Celeste from Agua Astrology and also from the Spiritual Sisters podcast. Gabrielle works with astrology as a language of patterns and cycles, not necessarily prediction as destiny. She's here to help us unpack what astrology can actually say and what it can't, and how easily meaning turns into certainty. Rachel White from Totem Readings, also known as the Skeptical Shaman, and from Skeptical Shaman podcast, she's known for challenging spiritual authority and fear-based narratives while still honoring genuine mystical experience. She has a rare ability to question claims without dismissing curiosity, and she's here to keep us honest about power, projection, and responsibility in spiritual spaces. That was a lot. Ladies, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having us. Excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. I know this is going to be interesting how we do this. We want to make sure we don't talk over each other, so let's keep our fingers crossed. Right off the bat, like I mentioned before, let's set the container. In 2025, people we spoke to were saying how that it was going to be a rough year, and we were going to, once we cross over into 2026, things are going to be better and all that kind of stuff. But now it seems like things are changing. And now the people that we're talking to are saying that this year might actually be a little bit more challenging than what we expected. So because I was expecting 26 to be a year of, now I find myself going, oh crap, right? So that is where this whole conversation comes from. So first and foremost, I would love to start with you, Rachel. When it comes to
Sure.
2026 predictions, what are we talking here? When people hear that 26 is going to be challenging, what are people actually hearing?
Well, like you, um, I got the same vibe of 2025. Not just as a shaman, we don't really do what other people say. We kind of reverse engineer things. We go directly to spirit and then we reverse engineer our research and go, oh, look, other people, the Hopi, the Mayans, the Japanese Shinto, this thing, right?
Mm.
2025 was a wood snake year in Chinese astrology. I'm a pig. I almost died. It's a long story. I have a merch line now. Necessity really is the mother of invention. And what doesn't kill you does make you stranger. But this year, horse year, I still think it's going to be the best year we've had since 2019. So I think the people telling you it's going to be bad are people who either have a profit motive. It's called solution selling. You create a sense of urgency, poke at latent pain, and then you deliver the solution, the lift, and you convert them to sale, right? That's it's, fear porn turned multi-level marketing, for lack of a better term. I think outside of that, though, the people who are actually going to find this year really challenging are people who are aggressively attached to their illusions. As we've seen in the last week, how many powerful figures that people have deified and elevated to certain platforms have fallen, and that this is not a team sport. It's, upstairs, downstairs, not left, right paradigm. And someone who's a shaman or someone who's inquisitive, like a skeptic metaphysician or others, we're going to feel a tremendous sense of relief this year. It's like the family's finally having the big, dark, gross, uncomfortable conversation at Thanksgiving dinner about what Uncle Bob was about. And it upsets some people, but people like me feel relief
Mm.
that we're finally being honest. And it's a watershed experience. And in terms of apocalyptic visions, the word apocalypse, there's a lot of theological illiteracy. Apocalypse means revealing of great information. It's a Greek word. It doesn't mean end of the world. And Armageddon is a mistranslation of Hegmagedon, which is a mountain in Israel. It's a geographic location. So, once you sort of get into the etymology of the words, I think it dissipates a lot of the anxiety around it. Personally, I'm pumped for the ride. I'm happy to be here.
Well, that is one way to look at it, right? It's like, woohoo,
Yeah.
right? It's a roller coaster
Yeah.
ride. But at the same time, it does cause a lot of people a lot of consternation, a lot of fear. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. How do we get around that? Because, yes, if you're willing to go for the ride, then woohoo, right? But
And
if you're not.
It does feel like we've been already on a roller coaster ride for a couple years.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's like, when's the ride gonna settle
In
down?
Chinese astrology, this is the first year we have yin earth, any earth element since 2019. And earth rules over stability, currency, being able to build on things. So I agree, Karen. I found the last 6 years not unpleasant, but challenging, a lot of growth and change fatigue.
Mm.
I think a lot of other people experience that too. And so this year it's going to be a wild ride in some ways. Other ways, it's going to be businesses doing better. People are going to love real things. Collaboration is going to be easier.
Right.
I'm not that worried about it.
But I think to your point, I think if you're on board for the ride, then it's going to be a good thing. But we have to go through some uncomfortable parts of the year to get to that reveal or whatever, right? So, Karen, I'd love to ask you, how does someone get to that point where they actually are able to strap on and have fun on the ride versus worry about what's coming?
So from my perspective, I work at the level of the field, the quantum. And so my perspective is really broad. And so for me, or from my perspective, what is happening now on the earth is important because we are in the midst of something which is a tremendous shift that hasn't been seen before in the universes. And that is the shift into the awareness that we are source intelligence and form, which is a much higher degree of resonance than what we've occupied in our mind, which is like, I have to focus on the physical. This is what matters. I have to do my to-do list. I got to like make money. I got to make sure I'm okay. This is mine. That's yours. This is my ideas. That's your ideas. There's a lot of separation. There's a lot of ego. There's a lot of limitation. And so because we have been in the density of this consciousness level, the third dimensional consciousness level, which just means like a bandwidth of frequency, which means that we have very dense patterns or distortions of scarcity, of oppression, of greed, of fear, of all these things. In order to move into a higher level of resonance, a higher experience of these, I guess it's not really ideals because it's what you can live when you're in a higher resonance, which is more of a feeling of oneness, which is a more of an embodiment of the emanation that you truly are, which is that of love, which is of peacefulness, of serenity, of knowing intrinsically that you're a part of the one, that you are infinite. When you're in that higher resonance of that higher dimension, I know it sounds kind of pie in the sky, but it's literally a shift in resonance up. And in order to experience that shift in resonance up, you need to have dissolution, or first, before the dissolution, the awareness of the things that haven't worked. All of our systems currently right now, from financial to political, even our personal systems, have been entrenched in fear and lack. I don't think that's a big surprise to anybody, right? Like we're very limited in how we see the world. And so that's why we feel like we don't have enough, that we're not enough. All these distortion patterns have been running and they're very, very heavy in this level of consciousness. In order to move up into a different level of consciousness, which again can sound a little like rose-colored glasses, but it's actually happening at this moment. You have to purge out these heavier distortions in yourself because ultimately, from my perspective anyway, we're creator beings. And so your experience of your reality is actually a reflection of your own emanation, or said differently, your own resonance. So to me, how do we get to this place where your question initially, Will, was how do you get to the place where you're like in for the ride? Well, to me, it has to do with your resonance, right? Because I recognize that around us in the external world, it looks really chaotic and it's very scary and there's a ton of fear and there's a lot of worry about how am I going to feed myself? How am I going to feed my kids? Am I going to make it? Is there going to be enough? Like the world seems like it's blowing up or burning. What am I going to do? And I feel like in this time where we can really see this kind of very intense, very polarized stuff happening around us. It's not meant to punish us. It's actually meant to shake us awake, to be like, okay, I don't want to see this in my world anymore. What is it that I'm running within me, in my own patterns, that has helped to create this world? Either complicitly because I've been silent, or I've been creating it in my own field, or I've been kind of going along with it, or I haven't said anything. And how can I clear that within myself? Because from my perspective, once you raise your resonance, things start to change. And the thing is, in your world, what does it look like? Because in your world, you might be creating all kinds of awesome, right? Just in terms of the resonance that you are, in terms of the kindness that you have, the thoughtfulness you have, the inspiration you have. That invites in collaboration from more people. That emanation then spreads to other people who then get to share that with other people, and it sort of just starts to spread. So the thing is, I know that it can feel powerless at this time, but that's part of the point. It's for us to realize that we actually aren't that disempowered, for us to release that narrative that we can't do anything, to release that sort of suppressed rage that like we're impotent, like there's nothing we can do, and that action is the only thing that matters. But the thing is, it's about your resonance, and as you raise it, you can change a lot just by shifting that rather than just feeling like this oppressed rage. And just like a really short story, and I'm sorry because I've been talking for a while here, but like a friend of, or not a friend, actually a client, yeah, she's British, but she was in Israel, and she was trying to get online for this program I give called the Limitless Potential Mastermind. And she said, I don't know that I can connect because she lives in Tel Aviv. She was living in Tel Aviv at the time. And she's like, well, we've all been told that Iran is about to attack and we all need to go to the bomb shelters and we need to be in there in a couple of hours. So I don't know that I can connect. There's no connectivity in there. So our customer service wrote to her and said these very simple things. Remember that your resonance is under your control. that you can raise it and to really be present in the moment and in your resonance, and you can change all kinds of things. There's nothing really fixed. So she did her own thing, right? So she was like, oh, that's totally true. I forgot that in all the fear and all that sort of fear mongering. So she focused on raising her resonance. She said she felt a shift. Within an hour, they had announced there's no more attack. You don't need to be going to the bomb shelters anymore. So who knows what causes what, right? Because in the quantum field, everything is possibility, right? There's nothing fixed. Everything is wave potential. So the thing is, I mention that story because we feel like we're disempowered, but we actually have so much more power than we really think we do.
I see what you're saying. You're talking about changing your reality into a reality where 2026 is not a bad thing, right? That's kind of what you're aligning yourself with, that those energies. That's interesting. Yeah.
I have a question for everyone, but let's hear from Gabrielle first.
Yeah. So, Gabrielle, I wanted to ask you specifically, what, as an astrologer, you are adept at seeing patterns that are emerging and see things that might perhaps be in the cards for certain people and for the world at large, so to speak. One of the things we talked about last time you were on the show was some movements that are happening that hasn't been seen since the Civil War, which frankly freaked us out, right? So it all kind of, and funny enough, we're much more in agreement than I thought in a lot of ways. But Gabrielle, what is coming in 2026? Like what?
Yeah,
What
the
should we be
pressure
ready
was a
for?
little.
Oh, she got the easy question.
Well, first of all, thank you again for having me on, and ladies, nice to meet you. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of a loaded question. I actually think it's going to be a great year
Mm,
overall, although I do think there is a lot of change that's occurring. I don't know if it's avoidable on the collective scale. So we are at time of recording, we're in eclipse season, and in the next couple of weeks with the Chinese New Year, we have the lunar. It's also a lunar eclipse, and then a couple days before that, on the 13th, Saturn's going into Aries. The lunar eclipse is the 17th, and then the 20th, Neptune and Saturn meet up in Aries for the first time in a while in that specific sign. And typically, when those two planets meet up on the world stage, something usually goes down. This is not a prediction. This is just a pattern observation.
mhm,
Goes
mhm,
down
mhm.
with the United States and Russia, right? And we have another cycle, another transit that's occurring on April 25th, which is Uranus is going into Gemini, and that in the past, typically Saturn and Neptune meeting up in Aries, and Uranus going into Gemini. Those on the world stage oftentimes coincide with some type of conflict, right? Um, that is one timeline. There are multiple timelines available to us, and I really feel like it's dependent on not just how those transits are affecting one person, specifically how it relates to their chart, but I also think there's a little bit of, and this is where like the whole fate and free will discussion comes into for me, and I'm still figuring that one out and dancing with it. It's almost like, at least what I've noticed is when people do a certain amount of shadow work, when they nurture their nervous systems to a regulated point, they can almost, I don't want to use the word bypass, but that's the word that's coming up. They can co-create and work with the astrology in different ways instead of it almost like plummeting them and them just kind of surrendering to maybe the more negative aspects of what those transits could be, um, how they could be impacting one's chart. So I did, I'm so blessed to be able to say this, a good amount of readings in the high double digits over the last 2 months. And of those readings, only like a handful really had like a challenging year up ahead of them. And so many people, and I think that reflects back to maybe just where we're at from a consciousness standpoint and how many people have woken up since 2019 to now. How many of them are actually having really beautiful, phenomenal years, at least from the timelines that I was reading. On the world stage, I think it is going to be a little bit more challenging, but on a personal note, it seems like a lot of people are having a phenomenal year.
Cool. So the world will fall down around us, but we're going to have fun while it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Can I just interject
Yeah.
quickly? I wanted to say my readings as well, Gabrielle, they've been
Nice.
shockingly positive relative to the last 6 years. Truly, as a meta trend, I do about anywhere between 10 and 30 one-on-one client tarot readings or psychic sessions a week. And they've all been shockingly positive. And a lot around sovereignty, autonomy, free will. What are you creating? And it's been buoying, I think, for me, and sounds like for you too, where it's like, oh, I thought so, but it's nice to see it in everybody else's stuff too.
Right.
Thank you.
I feel like
Yeah.
the word that's coming to mind is refreshing. Like, I'm like, oh, like everyone kind of had a really challenging year in 2025. I only know a handful of people who had a really great year. And now it's the inverse. And it almost feels like a reward for honoring the snake and now embracing the fire horse.
All right.
Okay, so I hear what everyone's saying. And I'm
Here it comes.
No, not at all. Not at all. But I'm, usually, you all know, you've all been on the show. Will researches everyone. I come in kind of from the audience perspective. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here too. So, for the average Joe who can't tap into or doesn't know even that a quantum field exists or that we can create and manifest our own realities or there's, astrology, and they're just going through this stuff and they're seeing all the chaos. And there's so many more of them, I think, than people that are like awakened. How does that imbalance affect what's happening? Or is everyone just in a million own separate timelines having different lives? And that's for anybody.
Well, I'll answer that first, which is I don't think 2026 is going to be any worse than the last 6 years for anybody. Actually,
That's saying a lot, though. The last 6 years have been,
It's been pretty rough.
Well, I had to show medical paperwork at Whole Foods to buy toilet paper in 2020 and 2021.
Exactly.
So, everything's relative,
Mhm.
and we've been at war the whole time, and the economy's been shrinking, and, it's been hard, especially last year. Last year was the culmination point. So for the average Joe, to answer your question, what I would say is if you're not dead yet, you're alive.
You're in luck.
Seriously, and congratulations. You made it through the gauntlet, and you should be proud of your strength and your resilience, whatever side of whatever thing you're on. There has never been propaganda like there have never been spiritual attacks like there have been. I got violently ill in the middle of last year. I actually have a legal situation as a result of it. I know 36 people who went through the same thing starting on the same day as me.
Wow.
That is a data point that cannot be argued with. And we're all still here and we're feeling buoyant and enthusiastic. We all lead very different lives. Some of them are Gnostics, some of them are fundamentalist Christians, Catholics, Muslims, everybody, because I talk to everybody. It's one of the benefits of that. And what I would say is really, truly, the war may go more kinetic this year, but that's just what we're seeing. And so for the average person, I'm not good at somatics. I'm not good at astrology. But what I would tell them is, as long as you have air in your lungs, you're a problem to the forces of darkness. Very like Arya Stark. Do you guys remember The Long Night on Game of Thrones? When Melisandre, the Red Witch, who's the best ever, says, what do we say to the god of death? And she says, not today. Just say not today. And that's a very shamanic thing because we're very memento mori and disillusion, dismemberment, death, resurrection in plant medicine and meditation and things like that. But I think we've all mastered resurrection in the last 6 years. I mean, how many careers did you guys end start? How many lifestyles did you end start? How many things came and went that you killed and gave birth to, that died and was reborn? So you're now alchemists, truly. Everybody.
Right.
So just keep doing that. And also turn the news off and don't look at social media.
Yeah, that's definitely the way to go. But
talk to people like Gabrielle.
so much easier said
and
than done.
Karen.
Although I wouldn't have found
And
out
you're
about
gonna
the
be fine.
monks.
That's true.
Yeah.
The walk for peace. We wouldn't have known that they was out
And we
there.
went
So-
out.
Oh,
and
yeah, that was
we went out and
sweet.
we drove out and saw the monks and
Yeah.
gave them a flower. And
Right.
it's awesome.
I'm unusually sensitive to the whole, because a lot of my clients lately have emailed me about things they've seen on social media. And this is a new trend in the last 3 months. Like, can you believe this? What can I do about this? I'm upset about this. And so my recommendation is you can't control what you see on it
Right.
because you think you've tuned your algorithm. You haven't. So if you're sensitive, turn it off because it might be harvesting your lower vibrational energies and emotions,
Right.
which are called loosh.
But at the same time, you alluded to the files that just were released
Oh, yeah.
at the time
I
of
look and
recording.
I stare into hell every day, but I don't, I'm fine.
But you don't recommend it.
Yeah. The other, if you're sensitive
yeah.
and you're getting really emotionally upset about things that you're not in geographic or real proximity to, it's probably not a value add for you.
And I think a lot of us don't realize how much of this stuff we're taking in and we're holding in because you compartmentalize. You learn to do that. You push it back. So we went and we did. We drove out. We got in the car like late Friday night. Drove out in the winter storm to go see these monks because I'm like, they're going to be a couple hours away. We've
You
got to
guys
go.
saw them?
Yeah, we went. We
Mhm.
went and saw them. We stayed the night in Richmond, then we drove to this little town and stood on the side of the road, freezing our butts off with our flowers, and it was beautiful. And I was, I loved it. And I get into the car and I just lost it, like full on hyperventilating, crying. Like it just was overwhelming. And I didn't realize how much of the shit I had been holding in and how this incredible peace and love energy just whoop. I mean, it was like a tidal wave hit me. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, as great as that was.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I don't be sorry.
I'm
It
so
was-
happy you guys did that and you did it in real life. That you embraced synchronicity and serendipity when
Well, we embrace surrender. We just let it happen. Speaking of surrender, Karen, when we spoke to you on the show, we talked, and even on the show today, you talked about the quantum mechanics of it all. We create our own reality type of thing. Things that are out of our control, things like the Epstein files being released and seeing really the underbelly of the world in full display, something that's been going on for many, many years that are now, to Rachel's point, being brought to light.
Mhm.
It makes someone feel pretty helpless, right?
Yeah.
It's
And hopeless.
and hopeless because no one's getting dragged into court. No one's getting charged for anything like that. So, yes, we understand we create our own reality, but now this has happened. How do we get beyond this feeling of hopelessness?
What I would suggest is to focus on your own resonance. So I understand there's all this injustice in the world, and I understand that it's escalating, and it can feel like there's no repercussion or justice. And as beings, it can feel very frustrating for us because we're like, why is there no justice? Why are people not being held accountable? Why isn't right being done? And you can get really pulled into a lot of fear-mongering with regards to the darkness in the world, okay? Because there's a lot of darkness in the world. I don't think this is a big shocker for anybody. The thing to I think that people can fall prey to is when that's like pulled on. Do you know what I mean? It's like now you start to feel more and more disempowered, more and more angry, more and more all that stuff.
For sure.
And now you're getting more and more pissed off and more
For sure.
like in it, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm just going to back up out of this conversation for just a hot second.
Was it something I said?
No. No, it's something I said. It's something I said or haven't said yet. And that is, like I had said at the very beginning, you are a creator being. So we don't realize that. We don't recognize how much we have power over and what it is that we create in our fields. But your reality is a reflection of you, your distortion, your beliefs, all that stuff. And the thing is, if you focus on that and you get sucked into it, you amplify it, okay? Whether you resist it or not, and I'm not saying you shouldn't feel anger, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel rage, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel fear. Of course, feel those things. And there are like so many modalities, like you have Rachel and Celeste, all these, and you have all these different modalities like EFT and NET and all these amazing things that have come up recently to help you process emotion. So my suggestion is use those things to help you to release the emotion out of your nervous system, but to not hold it. Because the thing is, what happens when you're up in your head, you'll focus on those things and you'll start to amplify it in your own field because now you're just pissed and there's nothing you can do about it. And here you go, you're starting to amplify what it is that you're being shown that's making you disempowered, and you're amplifying it in your field. So what does that do? It drops your resonance and you start to create from that place. So the thing is, I'm not saying like close your eyes and pretend it's like freaking amazing out there when it's not, but instead to be aware of your own patterns within you, your own emotion, to use a modality to help you have the emotion and to release it out of your field. And then clear the patterns that are there that are creating that within you. So I've talked a lot about releasing your distortion patterns, but we've gotten to the point in consciousness rising where you can actually release it at the level of the quantum, at the level of the field where it exists first. When you start to release that, you start to clarify yourself. You start to come into your center. And the thing is, just, like Rachel said, if it makes you angry and you're in social media and you're into watching the television, turn it off. And the thing is, it's not helping you. It just drops your resonance. So to be aware of how it impacts you, how it affects you, how does it feel to you? And the thing is, If it makes you feel worse, don't watch it because it disempowers you. And again, it drops your resonance. And now you're starting to create something that different control sources would prefer that you feel in order to create more of. So don't let them do it. So to be aware of yourself and focus on something else. So what you guys did was really beautiful because you're like, okay, here are these monks who are doing this tremendously beautiful act selflessly in order to help bring people into a resonance of love, kindness, compassion, for us to recognize that within ourselves. I mean, really, that's what we're doing. We're in training to that resonance. So the thing is, that grief that you felt, Karen, and all that that you had was, for all that despair that we have in humanity, to like have it and to release it. So to let it go. And the thing is, as you clarify your own resonance by releasing your distortions or whatever modality you use, it really doesn't matter. What happens is, what I've noticed in all the thousands of different people that I work with, that people start to clarify and start to become more and more able to hold their center. So it doesn't mean non-emotional and not caring. Like, I don't care that this person just died or this person was murdered. But it's like you can hold your own resonance as you are aware of what's happening, because then it's like you can sit with what is, and you're not in resistance to the present moment. You're like, okay, well, that's freaking terrible, but I don't need it to drop my resonance. I don't know if that distinction it makes sense, but there's one thing to like watch something, to understand that it's happening, to have an awareness, and to hold your resonance despite watching it, right? Because you're like, okay, I accept, I see that has happened. I'm not arguing with it. It is right there in the present moment with me. But I can choose to hold my resonance up. And it's the same kind of act as those monks are doing. Those monks are walking in the cold and in the wet and in the snow, holding a resonance and the emanation of love, despite what the hell is happening around them.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing in your little way. Right? It's the same act of defiance, really. Right. It's like, I choose to hold a higher resonance. I choose it. Right. I'm not being made to do something that, you know what I mean? Because like when you watch stuff, you feel disempowered. But the thing is, you're having that response. So it's like, okay, well, can I clear the stuff that puts me in that disempowerment and then hold something of a higher resonance so that others can hold that too, right. Just like it inspired you to hold a higher resonance yourself when you watch those monks.
And even they are such the embodiment of that, because I don't know how much you know about them, but I've been obsessed with these guys. And I've been like,
and they had a dog.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the dog?
Aloka. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you know, but like, so there was they have this truck that kind of follows them. And I don't know, a couple months back, because they've been doing this now for over 100 days.
102 days.
A car came flying into the highway, didn't realize how slow the truck was going to hit the truck. The truck hit, I think, 2 of the monks, and one of them lost his leg. And he's not angry about it. I mean, obviously it's a disappointing thing, but I mean, when he talks about it, he's just like, well, kind of this is what happened, and this is what it is, and it wasn't intentional. It's and he's still that he still has his resonance. I guess is kind of like what you were saying. It's just incredible.
So just like the adage says, right? Yeah. It begins with me. Let peace begin with me.
Adage,
and one quick thing about what Karen was just saying, guys, is that's how you don't feed, as I call them, the animals. In shamanism, we believe in energy parasites and negative entities. Right. The process she just described, and I expect our other friend here, Gabrielle, is going to give suggestions too, but it's not just about working through your stuff. Don't feed the animals that cause the chaos.
Right, right.
So, starve them out, guys.
Yeah, Gabrielle, she just fed you the line. So what?
Sorry, I didn't know. Gabrielle, are you into not feeding demons? Because you and I should form a club and give out merit badges.
No, totally. It's wild.
Thank you.
So
okay,
yeah. Well, thank you for I think the question is, do I feed demons? I try not to. I caught myself this morning with the whole, speaking of the Epstein files, where I caught myself, I was like, oh, Gab, wait, stop. Like, this is actually like an energy harvest. This was released strategically. There's a reason no one has gone to jail. And I caught myself and I was like, oh, they're trying to harvest your energy. And the more energy that you give anything, for that matter, it's going to grow. And I was like, very much caught myself, and I was like, yeah, we're not going to put that information into my subconscious and or conscious mind. So yeah, I try to be aware of it.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I've not looked at a single file. I'm not interested. I know there's nothing I can do about it, and that's all it's going to do is piss me off. And I'm already outraged.
I read them all when WikiLeaks came out.
Oh.
I'm an OG like that. And so this to me, I was like, yeah, cool. That's why I said 2026, I feel relief. I was like, oh, everybody else is reading these.
Yeah, everyone else can be miserable like me. Yeah.
Well, and now we can hang out.
And talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so guys, is part of the problem here the fact that we've been living in like tense times, that we're seeing into things, like we're reading into these astrology or predictions that are coming out and assuming the worst?
Gabrielle, if an astrological tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, did it really fall?
I mean, I would love to hear your thoughts on it, and Karen as well. I think what's gonna happen is gonna happen. I still stand by a lot of, you know, nervous system work, regulation. It's impacting your chart in a specific way, and the only way to go through it is to quite literally grow through it. And grow through it. So yeah, I would love to know,
So,
Karen, your thoughts on it.
from my perspective, it's fascinating, the idea of predictions. The quantum field is infinite. There are infinite timelines and infinite possibilities. And so the thing is, when people make predictions, what they're really doing is they're reading probability in the field. But the thing is that we don't recognize, I think, really at this level of consciousness and are starting to wake up to more and more, is that a single person can shift things in terms of the resonance that they have. And it's not a one-to-one thing, like everyone's at the same level of resonance and then therefore the impact on the field is the same. It's totally, it depends on the resonance level you are, the higher in resonance you are. And I'm not talking about anybody being chosen, okay? So before anyone freaks out, I'm not saying there's like chosen ones or anything weird. It just has to do with resonance level, okay? So the higher your resonance, the more ripple effect you have into the field. It's just the way it is. And so the thing is, there is nothing fixed in the quantum field. The quantum is constantly moving. It's constantly changing. There is nothing fixed. The only thing that makes things fixed and certain is your attention, your focus, and your resonance. So we as humans tend to fix things into solidity with our habituation, our focus, and our resonance, what we choose to focus on. And so the thing is, if you start to raise your own resonance, however you choose to do that, and we're all sort of saying the same thing in different vocabulary, but really we're saying the same thing. As you choose to release those things within you that cause you to focus on those things, the distortion patterns that lead you to go into fear, that pull you into self-doubt, that have you go into, terror around the loss of control. What happens when you release that is just like the monk whose leg got, whatever by the van. It's odd because you come into a space where you're like, in acceptance with what is. He's not fighting what is. Like, it happened. He can't change it. It happened, right? So he's like, I am okay with what is. But the thing is about predictions is because we are so like insistent as humans as like needing certainty, like this is going to happen on this date and it's going to look like this, then I can plan, then I can like kind of like set out my like, okay, well, if this happens, then I'll do this. And if that happens, I'll do that. But the amazing thing that's possible as your resonance rises and as you move more into the surrender state, into the present moment of linear time, you start to recognize your ability as creator being to impact things with your resonance. So it changes what the outcome is. Now, the story I told you about that woman in the bomb shelter, who caused what? Do you know what I mean? Like, what can we say it was her?
Oh,
Can we
boy.
not say it was her? Who causes what? And the thing is,
I thought we were supposed to get along.
yeah. So the thing is,
It's the hot
from my
button of them all.
Yeah.
yeah. So the thing is, from my perspective anyway, the probability of things happening, yes, for sure. But at what we choose individually and collectively can shift outcome really at the very moment that it's happening. That's the amazing thing. That's what being a creator being is. You can shift things, even like in a very short period of time. So I think the thing is to remember that, and that if somebody predicts something, the question is, how much do you want to internalize that as a truth for you? And how do you want to hold that in your field? Do you know what I mean? And I think with the fear mongering, it can be really easy to like drop your resonance as a result. And there are things that are really hopeful. And the thing is, well, what are you going to choose to focus on? And how can you raise your resonance to not only help yourself, but help others? And, as we've all been saying, we have different clients who have amazing things happening this year. It really kind of depends on what's happening for you. And I feel like in the people that I'm working with and what I'm seeing is that people are having tremendous awakening at this time. Like the amount of shift that people are having right now in terms of remembering who they are and the brilliance they are and how much they just are. I mean, it sounds a little lame, I guess, but it's just like lighting up. It's kind of amazing. And it's not just, the people who, have been in spirituality for a long time. These are people who are like just discovering this like for the first time and sort of really opening to it. So it's kind of a really spectacular time, I think we've all been saying. And I think that the thing with prediction is, like I said, it's about your relationship in terms of what you want to internalize and where do you place your power? Do you place it in the thing that someone's telling to you and you play into the fear around it or the certainty? Or can you hold your space? Can you sit in your own resonance and be like, okay, well, I'm going to sit with that. I don't know if that's true for me. You know what I mean? And I think that's an important thing when people are telling you that certain things will definitely happen for you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on the flip side of things, Gabrielle, a question for you. What's a better question people could ask instead of, is this going to happen? What's a better question that they can ask instead?
How can I best prepare for such and such so I can show up as the highest version of myself with non-attachment, if possible? So, yeah, I think attachment, based off of what Karen was just saying, is a big thing too, because then you're kind of, I don't want to say putting yourself into like a pigeonhole, but you're not giving the universe as much to work with if you're so fixed on one outcome when there's so many different and possibly better and more beautiful ways that the divine can show up for you and you two can co-create and work with one another.
So I'm sorry,
No,
cutting
please.
you off. With all the multiple timelines and everything, maybe a weird question, Gabrielle. Have you ever met with someone, done their charts, and then maybe they're doing some work and changing their resonance or whatever, and
Not feeding the demons.
not feeding the demons, and then meet with them again and their chart looks different?
Yeah, I think that's inevitable. I mean, the planets are always moving, but what I've noticed is I haven't directly had specific outcomes where I've had clients come back and tell me like, oh, you said this, but this actually happened because I couldn't accept what you had shared with me as a possible prediction. Not that I don't have attachment to my predictions. I've just found that because I live more in my upper four chakras, that's what naturally came a bit easily to me, I would say, more easily. I identify as a clairvoyant, and so it's definitely a lineage thing for me, but I would love for that to happen because I would think that it would be that person being like, you know what, I can't accept this possible outcome. I'm going to choose to do better for myself. One example that's coming to mind is one of my mentors. She had relayed to a client that she had who was severely obese. And she was like, I don't see you losing this 200 plus pounds, right? And the client she was speaking to, and it really sat with me as I was in training, and she was like, I just couldn't accept that. Like, I could not accept that outcome. And she took accountability, her own free will. And she, met up with my mentor like 8 months later, maybe even like a year, I forget the time frame, and she had lost the weight. And so I think that there's for the fate versus free will type of conversation definitely plays a role in this. And I think the astrology is just allowing more insight for one potential outcome.
Right. So it's like an early warning system.
Yeah, like a
right?
guideline. Like this could be the situation,
Right.
but you can make it better.
Yeah,
or
I don't know that, and
maybe.
correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, but I don't think that whether it's astrology or any other modality actually says this is what's going to happen to you or this is what's happening, what's about to happen, but rather these are some potentials that you need to watch out for. And that way you are pre-warned and you can make choices that would lead you down the path that makes the most sense that you would want to go. Or it might be a karmic thing, right? But to your point, Karen, we do have the ability, if we are in resonance with our highest good, to go down the path that makes the most sense to us, whether sometimes the path is rocky and challenging, and that's for our greater good. And worrying about it is all that's going to do is, make it harder. When I had to go to oral surgery a few months ago, already behind me, thank God, but I was a wreck. There's just nothing worse in my mind than oral flipping surgery, right? That's the worst possible thing. So the whole time I was sitting super tense, and so the likelihood that the procedure was going to go smoothly, it was probably not as high as if I had just been nice and relaxed and knowing, hey, I'm putting it out to the universe and whatever's meant to happen is going to happen, right? Thankfully, everything worked out okay.
There's a term for that though, and it's
Willism?
So I want to give you a compliment.
Oh.
You weren't doing totally all the wrong things. So I have a spirit guide. I don't know if I talked to you guys before or after my new fun friend who destroyed everything came in,
Huh.
but I've been working with Prometheus and I've been reading all the old Greek stuff, like the ancient stuff about him. And he's a god of prophecy. So your questions to everybody about this world of prophecy, etc. I think it's interesting that him is the actual oldest documented god of prophecy, gave free will to humans.
And he's as a thank you, he's trapped now on a mountain being eaten by vultures left all the
No,
time.
he got out. Hercules let him down. It's a whole thing that I discovered recently in my readings. But to your point about what you went through, there's a Russian word. It's like Germanic Russian for this that comes from his experience being basically crucified to the side of the Caucasus Mountains, right, for his sin against Zeus, which is called Tosca. And Tosca means an intense spiritual suffering that you cannot be passive in, but you must endure and feel, but that transmutes you. You can always count on Russia and Dostoevsky for things like this.
Yeah.
And, so there's a value in going into your oral surgery tense. I would tell you, maybe it's not optimized, but you're gonna get the benefits of Tosca.
Well,
And
if
so it is what it is, man.
But if you
survive.
If you remember how I looked when we first met, I was a few years ago. I looked way younger than I do now because of the oral surgery. I aged overnight.
Really?
He was like Marie Antoinette. His hair all turned gray.
My portrait, my painting in the closet got smashed because suddenly I got old.
Portrait of Dorian Gray. I went and grabbed these for you guys because everybody's talking about playing around with prophecy and what you hear and all these things and how you play with free will and prophecy, right? Because I give people readings, but I always say to them, like, how you gamify this, how you interact with this determines everything. That's the unpredictable variable in our world. That's the thing that makes us sort of unconquerable. So to your point, Karen, you're like, is it just that we've been looking at this? I think the world's always been dark since the beginning. I actually think it's the best time to be alive ever right now because we're looking at it together. And also, if it's always been here and it's hard, play with it. So I went on a walk. I wrote about this on Substack. I'll send it to you guys. And I was thinking about my lawsuit because I'm suing somebody. I hate lawsuits, but I had to do it because I got very sick and someone was responsible on a book I'm writing. And all of this seemed, writing a book in the middle of a lawsuit, not making any money, sick is nuts. But it's exactly what someone like me would do. And I'm walking and I look down when I'm thinking about the lawsuit and I see this dice out on the street. I'm not kidding, facing up to 6. And I looked down and I picked it up. I was like, oh, it's probably came out of a garbage can on trash day or whatever, right? But I had this strangely euphoric feeling right before I found it. And then I started thinking about my book, same wash. I looked down, facing up to 6, completely different set of dice.
Whoa.
So I took these home that day, and I had no idea my lawyer had filed that day. And it was the new moon in Sagittarius. All these other things are going on. And Prometheus, who's been my spirit guide, had been missing for months, probably because I was sick, by the way. We'll talk about that some other time. But he came back online, and I got a phrase, and he said, once more onto the breach. In like a playful, play with this. Look for the signs and synchronicities instead of white knuckling, to Gabrielle and Karen's point. Don't force it, don't horse it. But if you play with it, if you get into a more impish, if you will, energy with it, and you collaborate with spirit, you collaborate with prophecy, I think you'll do well in 2026, actually.
So ride the wave, don't fight it.
Well, and it's, what a great metaphor for I learned, because I posted this, a client goes, my husband said, you've rolled, God, there's a phrase for
box
it.
Cars.
I can't remember it. Thank you, boxcars. So you can tell I don't gamble. And you get to roll for anything else you want now.
That's
And I was like, I had no clue. This client emails me and tells me about that.
Yep.
And so maybe 2026 is boxcars. Well,
I like that. I like that thought.
yeah.
Karen, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Rachel's saying in terms of play. So, from my perspective, play is really important, and I think that as people who are interested in spirit and interested in beyond the veil or interested in the non-ordinary, we can get really serious, you know what I mean? And we can think of all the stuff that's coming in 2026 and the apocalypse and all this sort of stuff. It's very heavy and it's very serious. But there is something very powerful about play, and that is something that brings you, if you watch a child play, they're not really thinking about what's happening in the future. They're not thinking about what happened in the past. They're thinking about now, and they're just playing for the sheer pleasure of it, right? They're just playing. And there's something very heart-centered about that. It's not in their head. They're not trying to plan something. They're not strategizing. They're not trying to get to an outcome. They're just here playing because it's fun. And I think that we've lost that to some degree in our culture, and I don't know, I guess as just being adults. And I think play is super important because it can shift you. I mean, like even someone making you laugh, right, when you're getting really serious can shift your state. It can shift your resonance and can shift it up. And when that happens, things change around you. You know what I mean? Like, and it's funny because we can sometimes resist it, when someone, you're in a funk or whatever, and let's just say your partner is noticing that you're in a funk and they kind of try to make you laugh and you're like, screw you, I'm not going to laugh. You know what I mean? Even though they're trying to make you laugh. And at some point you laugh despite yourself and you feel better.
Yeah.
Right? So there's something about play that's really important. And there's this sort of like joyfulness. And it's a weird sort of phenomenon that happens, I think, in our culture where it's like if they're suffering, you're not supposed to be joyful. It's really strange. Like we're taught that it's inappropriate. But the thing is, I feel like, and I'm not talking about making fun of anyone suffering or anything weird like that, but I'm just saying there's a sort of lightheartedness that we're not really allowing ourselves often that I think is important because it buoys your resonance and it can really change things. I mean, it just... Because, again, everything is a reflection of your reality. So, for example, I was just, the other day, I had to call my banking institution and I was on the phone for like 5 or 6 hours and I was really getting up into my head and I was getting really frustrated and really angry and really pissed off because it's taking all my time and it really shouldn't be and it's so simple and why don't they just do it? And I started to have this fear that, oh my God, maybe I'm just going to have to be fighting with them for this long time to get access to these assets that I need. So anyway, I recognized that I was doing this and I went off and I went into my meditation. I was like, okay, Karen, you're just like so in your head. And I think that you've forgotten that what it is that you talk about all the time, which is that you're a creator being. So I just like, okay, I'm just going to drop into my heart space. So I'm just going to, okay, and I know that sounds like a little fluffy, but it's really important. I was like, be aware of your heart. Be aware of like you in the present moment. Be aware of the light. Be aware of the what's happening in the room. And then my resonance just started to rise because then I started to think, okay, well, what am I grateful for? And all this sort of stuff. So I started to expand my heart field. It just started to expand and get lighter and brighter and bigger. So what happened was the people on the phone had told me it's going to take 5 to 7 days to approve what it is that you're asking for, and then you might get your funds sometime after. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to, get ready to get on the phone again with them. And I happened to check my bank account. And what happened? All the funds that I'd asked for were there in just a few hours, as opposed to like 5 to 7 plus days. Now, why would that have happened? It doesn't make any sense. But the thing is, the quantum field is not fixed. I know I keep talking about it. It's all wave potential. It's a reflection of your resonance. Even like, I forget all the time myself. We're human, right? So the thing is, when you play and you're in this sense of like, I'm really present right now and I'm not really thinking about or worrying about the future. And I'm not saying be irresponsible, but if you allow these moments where you can find joy and you can find play, it has a tremendous impact on not only you, but what the outcomes can be, the people you're with, all of it can shift.
I need to get you to call Target for me. I'm 13 months into a 60-day fraud investigation. Someone stole money from me.
Wow.
And it was supposed to take no more than 60 days, Karen. So I'm going to hit you up, right? Creator being.
It's interesting because there seems to have been a definitive shift. I don't know whether, to Karen's point, I just spoke, Karen and I had an unexpected date at one point a couple of days ago, and I just happened to turn to her and say, I'm in a really good place. Like I feel really good, regardless of all this stuff is happening, right? Because I've taken on a philosophy of surrender. Like I'm just letting the universe tell me which way I'm supposed to go. I'm not fighting things. I'm feeling really good about that. Immediately thereafter, every interview, including Gabrielle and Karen, Rachel, we didn't talk to you. It's been a while since we talked to you, but
No, they keep me. I'm the Indian in the company, literally.
we bring her out when we need someone to really zing.
Yeah.
But you two are some of the latest interviews that we've had, and the message had changed, including right after you guys, we met with Suzanne Giesman. I'm not sure if you know who that is. She's she doesn't like to be pigeonholed as a medium, but she's a really well-known medium who she's a spiritual leader who used to be in a commander in the Navy. And so the dichotomy was very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
However, she also reiterated the fact that 2026 is going to be actually a really good year. So the message changed somewhere along the lines right before we started talking to you guys. And so that's why I wanted to bring you all together, because to your point, Karen, things are not fixed, right? Everything leading up to this conversation was, oh my gosh, buckle up because it's coming. And sure enough, yes, we do need to buckle up. We are living in monumental times. We are so lucky to be living in this moment because we are living through history. This is going to be talked about for generations to come, and we are here. Right? When you think about the people that were around during the Martin Luther King Jr. days or the Kennedy days, or when things like that just everyone will remember those times. Everyone's going to remember these times, and how we choose to move through them is what's going to make us enjoy the time or really, really hate it. It's really up to us, right? So we are right up against the clock, but I want to make sure that I give you guys a last message. If you want to make sure that you want to get one thing across to the audience before we go, what would that be? I'd love to start with you, Gabrielle, since we haven't heard from you in a bit.
Oh, thank you. I just feel really called to share that sometimes the best thing that you can do when receiving a reading, for me, from anyone else, doesn't matter, is like to receive it, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and then possibly forget all about it and then just come back to it to see if it did or didn't transpire. And I've oftentimes found that those are the messages that land the deepest and carry the weight for the longest period of time. But yeah, I really enjoyed just being here today, and learning from everyone here. It was such a joyous discussion. It felt like a gift.
Well, it was so much fun.
That advice about readings is tremendous, by the way. Yeah. People should take notes and then go back and look. I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Well, then how am I going to stop what's coming if I don't think about it?
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy.
Rachel, do you have any last parting words of wisdom?
I do, which is I don't think it's just that, I don't know if you can tell, I'm not really prone to toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing.
What?
Yep. Since 2019, I've been saying, woof. I started reading books about like bioweapons programs in 2018.
Oh, the light stuff.
Shamans get their homework early. Yeah. And so when it started happening, I was like, oh no, here we are, here this is, here it comes. And it's continuing. So I haven't, and on paper, I have no reason to feel bullish about the metaphysical market, if you will, right? I do though. And it gets into, if you've ever seen Chris Nolan's movie Tenet, I highly recommend as psychics or woo curious people watch it. Because, is it push or is it pull? Did we predict or did we create? I don't know that matters. I just know that as of about a month ago, I started feeling the way I felt before 2019. And so did a lot of people I know. And we have no reason on paper to feel that way. There's nothing that's changed. If anything, I'm kind of in the, in a lot of ways. And what I would say there is, trust that. And we've all been through a lot of trauma. People are just now going through the Epstein trauma, which was my OG trauma, because I got the WikiLeaks rip early. I have an external hard drive if you guys want access.
We'll have to talk offline, yeah.
OG files. But not waiting for the other shoe to drop is going to be really important. Not being hypervigilant, not creating problems where there aren't any, and giving miracles space. And to that end, I'll quote Prometheus when he was chained to the side of a mountain, having his liver pecked out by an eagle, which was pretty tough. And he said, time as it grows old teaches all things, and tyrants always fall to tyranny. So he wasn't twisted about it, and he had every reason to be.
Right.
And so, if he could do that and be cool and poetic, I can file paperwork and do my taxes and be a big girl.
Right.
It'll be fine.
Without your liver getting pecked out.
Right.
Yeah,
and that was
ideally.
He said that right after he said, ouch. Right. No.
He did say out. Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah,
Many
he
times.
did. Yeah, he did.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate that. Karen, the last word is yours.
So I love what Celeste said in terms of putting away what people say to you, because what I loved about that, and just even how she said it, was in doing that, she is allowing for the authority to stay with the person receiving, which is a really beautiful thing. And I think it's really important for those of us who are saying things in the world to people to be mindful of our own authority and our position of power, and then for you as the receiver to be mindful of your own authority within what it is that you get to create. And so what I loved about what she said was that it was like, we'll put it away and then look at it later or whenever it calls to you, because that places the authority firmly back into you as the receiver. And I think that's really beautiful, and I think it's really important at this time. And I think as we're in this time where there's so much turmoil and there's so much polarity and there's so much darkness, it's really important to stay in your own center and really present with yourself. So it's not about negating the fear, and it's not about pretending things are roses when they're not, but it's okay, is this actually helping me right now? Is it actually making me feel more empowered? Do I feel more buoyant? Do I feel more joyful? Do I feel more inspired? If it's not, then don't listen to it, because it's not helping you. So the thing is to have the discernment in this time as to where you place your attention, and to be aware really truly of how you feel. Now, I know that a lot of people who are listening to this may be empathic, so you feel others. So part of it is to learn how to discern that difference, and even to ask yourself the question, is what I'm feeling mine, or is it other people? And so the thing is, I think that part of this time is to really start to claim your own authority over what is it that I want to create? There's all these different inputs telling me all these different things, and that's all wonderful, and I can sit with all of that, and that's all great. But what is it that I wish to create in this time? What do I wish to do to empower myself, to uplift myself, others, the field, however you want to think about it? And I think that's a really important thing at this time as we start to navigate into a greater level of sovereignty.
Awesome. All right. Well, the last thing is, Karen, if someone wanted to reach out to you, where's the best place for someone to do that?
Oh, you can check out my website at sphericalluminosity.com. You can also find me on YouTube or Instagram. I'd suggest YouTube. We have a lot of great content for free.
Awesome.
On spherical luminosity.
Karen, thanks for being here. Gabrielle, where can someone reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at agoastrology. My website is www.agoastrology.com. And I also have a podcast that I co-host with my sisters, the Spiritual Sisters podcast. And that's the handle on Instagram as well.
Awesome. And then Rachel.
Yeah, I'm passive aggressive about social media. So you can find me on my website, which is totemreadings.com, and also Totem Readings on Substack. We have a lot of fun there because it's not, sort of short, shallow stuff. I just find Substack, speaking of vibrations, it's really fun there.
Right.
We can get very weird and deep. Yeah.
Awesome. Rachel
Yeah.
White, Karen Chong, Gabrielle Celeste, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for indulging me in this crazy experiment. I had a ton of fun.
I did too. I learned so much.
Yes.
Do you guys feel better?
Yeah, I feel way better. So thank you for that. Yeah. I'm hoping that this conversation has helped any number of people that are listening or watching this right now, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of fear. And the fact is, this period that we're living through is what you make of it. And I think that we have an incredible opportunity to turn lemons to lemonade. So thanks for spending the time with us today.